Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and happy March. Welcome in to a new edition of the Batter Up podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millard here on the Sports Insanity Network. You got the terrific trio, Danny Boy Reginald, the old ops guy, Pun Master with you. Gentlemen, good morning. Happy March. How are you?
Looking at snow falling out my window yet again.
Dude, you and the groundhogs are going to have to fight.
My poor puppy doesn't want to be out in the cold. She wants to run out in the warm weather.
Actually, you fighting a groundhog would remind me of Bill Murray in
Actually, I would
Caddyshack.
let in ground. I wouldn't blow up a whole golf course, but I would go as far as letting one drive, the car, just sit with them and
You
let him
against
drive.
the gopher. Dan, how are you?
Busy, busy. I work in news and the US decided to go to war again. So we're all over that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, it must have been a long day yesterday.
it was rough. But well, that on top of that, we also had the NBA and we went on late. So,
Hmm.
it was a combination of all that stuff. But yeah, no, it was a very interesting day, a lot going on. And then of course, we have baseball, which
We've
start
got baseball.
it starts in a couple of weeks that I'm so pumped up for. World Baseball Classic starts this week.
World Baseball Classic this week. Uh, is it just the exhibition or is it actual pool play
I
this week?
I believe
Exhibition. I don't believe it kicks off until the 15th.
Uh,
yeah. But but in any case, we have
we do have baseball.
Yeah.
Team USA is playing. I just it's a lot of like these warm-up games essentially.
We do. And Team USA is loaded. Although Tarek Skubal's only making one start. Thanks.
Same with McLean. McLean will also make only one start.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, spring training has arrived. Having fun with that. But today's show, last week we previewed the Western divisions. This week we will preview the American and National League Centrals, the two most fun divisions in all of baseball. So, you guys want to start American League or National League? I'll let you start. Let you
You know what? Since the American League has one player in it that I want, let's go American League.
Okay. The 2025 American League Central standings looked like this. The Cleveland Guardians won the division at a record of 88 and 74. The Tigers finished in second with a record of 87 and 75. Were a wild card team, disposed of the Guardians, and then were disposed by the Mariners. By the way, that was a phenomenal series. Tigers
Yes.
and Mariners.
Oh, fun series to watch.
Game 5 especially. Go back and watch it. Great game. The Kansas City Royals finished third with an 82 and 80 record. The Minnesota Twins finished with a record of 70 and 92, and something tells me it may get worse. And the Chicago White Sox finished with a record of 60 and 102. So that's how it lined up last year. We'll talk about little things here and there. We're going to go through each team's moves of the off season, and then we will just talk the division for a second. For Cleveland, they didn't do much this offseason. Met legend Colin Holderman, Sean Armstrong also to bulk up the pen, but recently on a minor league deal, Rhys Hoskins. And Mark is two guys who know Rhys Hoskins very well. this might be a massive impact bat that the Guardians have looked for a long time.
Um, Mike, you and I have been candid. We wanted the Mets to go out and get him,
Mhm.
after showing that he can still play. Unfortunately, he did miss last year due to injury, but he showed he still could play when he was in Milwaukee. And this might be the bat that helps protect Jose Ramirez this season. I mean, the Guardians are not an amazing team. They're a good team. I mean, Jose Ramirez clearly the focal point of this team as he just signed that massive extension. But now they're getting him a little protection in the lineup. And I think that might help him a little bit more. I mean, even without the help in the lineup, this guy puts up MVP quality numbers every single year. I mean, I don't think in the last 4 years we haven't mentioned his name in some positive form or not. He is definitely what drives Cleveland, and Reese Hoskins can probably push him a little bit more by making him get better pitches. So, I mean, hats off to Cleveland to snagging him. Really, also, if you have to think how late it was done, probably saved a lot of money because it was probably
Mhm.
like last minute. And it's on a minor league deal, which means if, oh, he doesn't hold up, we don't have to bring him up to camp. So,
Yeah.
And if he
Uh,
does make the team, it's league minimum, basically.
yeah.
right.
I would imagine Reese Hoskins going to get a chance to be on this Cleveland team. They could use his type of hitting and his type of experience on that team. Given that he's been to a World Series, didn't win, but given that he's gone far enough, and that he could be an impact on the lineup. It's huge for Cleveland. Cleveland, they're trying, look, they want to go after the Central Division title again. And you're gonna need some dots. It's funny because Cleveland keeps it seems like they always lose people, and then they have to rely on a Jose Ramirez and maybe some idiots that we have not even heard of to save their lineup. So finally, they get like a nice little small impact piece.
And think about what Cleveland was thought 4 or 5 years ago. This was a pitching staff. Shane Bieber, well, he's no longer there. And you want to go back years further, Corey Kluber,
Yeah.
guys like that. And now it's guys like Tanner Bibby, but they still have, Mark, this really good bullpen, even though it'll be down Emmanuel Clase, who's out due to uh, gambling,
Eh,
and still facing trial, I believe, which will start October, is what I read. I could
That
be
is
off
correct.
on that.
You're correct. You're correct on that. That was a big hit to the Cleveland organization. I mean, Manuel Clase over the last half decade has been a top five closer, a top five strikeout artist, had some of the nastiest stuff with that sinker. Just made the wrong decision. This guy when I say had it all, when I say had it all, I don't mean he was getting $800 million. He was a top closer in the MLB. He was widely known, and I'm not sure how much was left on his contract with Cleveland, whether it was 2 years, but I believe he was what, 27, 20, I think he is 27 or 28 years old.
Hmm.
And the way he's pitched, he would have went to a top five team probably for something close to 18 to 22 a year, maybe a little bit more.
Clase will be 28,
Okay.
actually this month.
Okay, so he's 28. He just threw away what could have been an even more promising career. We can't, figure out if he would have gotten injured or whatnot. That happens. But the guy would have had at least 7 more years without injury. Dan?
Um, I would feel sorry for him, but rules are rules. I mean, like it's in place for a reason, bro. Like,
Oh, I'm not saying he didn't get what he deserved. I'm just saying what he was.
yeah. Um, and you're right because the fact of the matter is, you know, he was a feared closer in baseball, and now he's not even in the fold anywhere. So, yeah, it definitely sucks for sure. But I think Cleveland will find a way to bolster up the back end of that bullpen. Uh, Look, I mean, look, I don't think Cleveland's going to shed tears. Cleveland's going to find a way. One thing that I will give them a lot of credit for is them finding a way to, you know, bolster that bullpen enough so that if they lose like a Class A or whatever, that they could, that they'll find ways to win or close out games or whatever it is. Like, I've always thought that about Cleveland. Um, but it does suck. He was a big time closer. He was a feared guy coming out of a bullpen. Like, I was even shocked that the Yankees got to him a couple of times.
Well, now brings back the betting thing. Was he
Yeah,
betting on those games?
like exactly. That'd be hilarious if that was the case. Um, yeah.
Like, I agree with your point, Dan, but that bullpen's strong enough. Reese Hoskins will add impact offensively for them. Do they have enough in the starting rotation? We'll wait and see. But this is a team that always they just find a stupid way. They find a way. We talk about how just to go to football for a second. The Steelers always find a way to be relevant at 9-8 or 10-7. I feel like that's what the Guardians do. They don't have outside of Jose Ramirez, they don't have a superstar, but yet every year they're in the thick in the AL Central. And
And
by
then
the
if you
way,
also take,
go
sorry,
ahead.
now if you look at the AL Central, it's a very competitive division, but not one 90 game winner out of the bunch. And it's Cleveland's division to lose. I'd be more worried about, and I'll talk about it when we get to predictions,
Minnesota.
other things that are going to happen. Cleveland has a chance to keep going, but it's not going to last long if they don't improve in certain areas now.
And by the way, Jose Ramirez 7-year extension just to make
Right.
sure
Yeah,
he plays his whole career there.
yeah,
Shout out to him.
and it's the right move for him. He
Yep.
doesn't he seems more like a Derek Jeter type, someone that's loyal to their teams. They don't want to go anywhere else. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, they gotta find some ways on how to get through with the starting pitching.
Yeah,
You can't trust Bybee. You saw his latest spring training stat. It was give up a trillion runs. Like, and of course last year he had like a 4 ERA. Like, like it's unacceptable. You know,
we'll see what happens for Stephen Vogt in year 3.
yeah, that's another one that you gotta look out for. Like,
Yeah.
not saying that he's on the hot seat. Like Cleveland's a money ball team. They'll find they'll find ways to get through. But
Yeah.
Team Vogt keeps losing. And again, not necessarily his fault, but like if he's not managing well, just keep an eye on that.
Well, now let's see what happens. On to the Detroit Tigers, who finished in second in the division, did lose in the ALDS to the Mariners. They had quite the off season in Detroit. Mark Sky Framber Valdez signed late. They also brought back Justin Verlander on a 1 year deal. They brought back Dan's guy Glaber Torres to play second base. And then they shored up their bullpen by bringing in Kenley Jansen and Kyle Finnegan, who they brought in at the trade deadline last year. The, the one thing, Dan, about the Tigers, with Valdez and Verlander now in the fold, they got themselves a rotation.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm.
You know, I think, for a team that's been ready to compete, you have Schoolball, right now going to his prime, and then you shore up his staff, because let's be honest, he's the ace of the staff. You shore up that ace of the staff with a bunch of dogs as pitchers. And again, you could put Verlander because of his age at the back end of the rotation. It's gonna be fucking lethal. Maybe middle rotation if you're that ambitious, you know. But that is a stellar pitching staff that they have, that starting rotation. And I think with the Tigers, for a team, like I said, they're trying to win a World Series. They certainly have the offensive pieces. Now they definitely have the pitching pieces. And then, of course, one of the greatest managers to ever manage this game, AJ Hinch. I just think that they right now are in a spot where, you know, this window's probably what, 2, 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, unless school, I don't know where school ball's at, but it's like, I feel like within this window here of opportunity, they have the best chance to pounce on it. And if they could put up a solid run at the World Series, like, not gonna lie, like this is the right time to do it. Like, and but the time is now. You have all these pieces. Get it done now, Mark.
You know, obviously with the Tigers, the name is really Tyreek Skubal. That's what everybody wants to know. Is what are the Tigers going to do about Skubal? Stop worrying about Skubal and start worrying about what this Tigers team is coming to be, because you now have a starting rotation with Skubal at the one, Framber at the two, and most likely Verlander as your three. I don't care if Verlander's 90 years old, it still makes him lethal. This is, in my opinion, a goodbye tour for him. I think this will be the end for Justin Verlander after this. Adding Glaber, it makes that infield a little bit better. You got Glaber and Torkelson on the right side. Um, and then adding Kenley Jansen. I've had my problems with him, but the guy is and when I say consistent, I don't want to say he's a 2 ERA, 9K guy, but he's always available. He's always willing to go out. He's always willing to pitch, whether it's in a blowout situation or it's in a game-saving situation. He's a gamer, and it with all the excitement that is surrounding Detroit and that locker room buildup, I think Kenley Jansen is going to make that locker room even better.
Hmm. I mean, first things first. I mean, you're spot on about Glaber, who was phenomenal for Detroit last season.
Yeah. Hit over 300.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and um, then of course Torkelson, who we know is going to be stud too. So, I mean, Mike, it's a fabulous opportunity for them.
And here's the thing, because I totally agree. I think this is the one team in the American League I could look at
Mhm.
and I go top to love the rotation. We've hit the rotation on the head. We talked about the breakout players from last year. Torkelson had a nice year. Glaber in the change of
Yeah.
scenery,
Mhm.
awesome year. Riley Green had a great year. Kerry
Yes, he
Carpenter,
did. Forgot about
those
him.
guys had really good years. Mark, you brought up Kenley Jansen for the back end of the bullpen. I think there's a key to bringing in Kenley Jansen. It's he's done it. He's won a World Series with the Dodgers. So now you're bringing in a guy who's won a World Series along with Justin Verlander, along with Framber Valdez. And you're saying to this young nucleus, guys, we expect to win. And you want to learn how to win? You talk to those guys. And we believe in this team. And you know what? I believe in them too. You could make the case maybe they're a bat short, but listen, worry about that at the trade deadline. Scooble,
Exactly.
wait and see where you are on Scooble. We don't know what 27 can bring us, but 2026 is right in front of you. And I think the Detroit Tigers right now, Dan, I think you're 100% right. I think right now they are a World Series contender. They are going to take nobody by surprise this year
Yeah.
because of what they've done the last 2 years.
And again, I say the time is now, partly because, you know, the American League has gotten better for sure this season, which is very nice to see. But at the same time, the National League is superior. So you still are among one of the top teams in the American League that's going to compete. So take advantage of that and compete.
So it's in store for the Tigers in 2026. On to the Kansas City Royals, who added left-handed reliever Matt Strom, outfielder Lane Thomas, and Isaac Collins, and reliever Nick Mears. But Mark, the one thing about the Royals is you got Bobby Wood Jr.
You don't want to just limit it to just that. He is the face of this team. He is the superstar, and he's been amazing in his first few years in the league. Um, this Kansas City team is gonna be even better than what it was last year. I think by maybe 3 or 4 games, which will make them a little bit more competitive. Um, but as we just said, Bobby Witt is phenomenal, but you can't forget about, Jack Caglione into his third year. You still got Sally Perez, who's probably one of the most consistent catchers in hitting wise ever, in my opinion. And he still fears most pitchers because of the way his stance is. Um, you look around their lineup and it doesn't scream you know, truly powerful. They just added Starling Marte yesterday, which to me is actually a very wise move for them because they needed help in the outfield. And what better than to bring in a guy who at one point, was a all-star and has had time to heal. So, and he's played in the American League. So we'll see what goes on with that there. And don't forget about Jonathan India at second base. The Royals are going to be a straight force to deal with. Cole Reagans is going to be your ace, and it'll be between Waka and Lugo who will pitch probably second and third, and probably you'll see Chris Bubic at the fourth, but I don't know who will be your fifth yet. But I expect a lot out of this Kansas City team this year. Dan?
I, I think with the Royals, because they're in an interesting spot. They made some decent signings in the offseason. They weren't quiet. Like they made enough signings to make them interesting, but not enough. It's not enough for me. They were 82 and 80 last season. They somewhat competed, but fell off. Like they kind of knew that the Central was kind of out of reach, you know, late in the season. So they didn't do enough in the offseason. I get it. They're trying to be a little younger. Um, I'm a little skeptical, but like I guess you just never know. Like you never know who's gonna have a great season, so I guess it's a wait and see game for them. Um, I don't know, I'm gonna need Seth Lugo to be a dog.
It's gonna have to be as good, if not better, than last year.
Like, I'm gonna need him to be a dog, Mike, because it's like, you know, like where is that Seth Lugo that was begging to be a starter in New York? Didn't get it. He was a closer. Like where is that? Like where's that oomph that he had? Where's that swagger that he had? It's like he's losing it. He's a good pitcher, but he's losing it a little bit.
2 years ago, he was 16-9 with an ERA of 3. Last year, he was 8-7 with an ERA of 4.15. And look, Seth Lugo's 36 years old. I'm not going to sit here and yell and scream that that 36-year-old was 8-7 with an ERA of 4. This team's rotation is a problem for me.
Yeah.
Mark, you're right. Cole Reagans is very good. He's got to stay healthy. But then to say Lugo and Waka are 2 and 3, that scares me.
Mhm.
That scares me because one of their age, but two, both of them have such a long list of injuries in their career. I would love if Seth Lugo were to go 10-7 this year with an ERA of 3.8.
Mhm.
Mainly because I know he's probably only good for 5 innings, maybe a sixth once in a while because of his age. I don't love the rotation. Bullpen, all right, they added some arms. We'll see what happens. They got offense. We talked about Bobby Witt. He's one of the best players in the league. You brought up Caglione, who in a full season, let's see what he's got. Vinny Pasquantino, the first baseman, he can drive in some runs. We'll see what Salvi's an ageless wonder. I just don't know if they've got enough pitching to offset what this offense could be. That's my biggest question about the Royals. So,
The starting is going to be a letdown for them
yeah.
if they don't come out of their shell.
By the
For
way,
sure.
going off of what we just talked about with Detroit, it's a rich rotation. The Royals, it's like, yeah, it is what it is. It ain't pretty. Speaking of it ain't pretty, let's talk the Minnesota Twins, who let's be blunt when I say this, they sold off a lot of parts of the deadline. And this offseason, they did add some names: Victor Caratini, Josh Bell, Taylor Rogers, Liam Hendricks on a minor league deal, Anthony Banda, Dansby Gio Urshela, Andrew Chafin, and Orlando Arcia. But the biggest news of all regarding the Twins, ace Pablo Lopez will miss the 2026 season as he's going to undergo Tommy John surgery. So it is a brutal first step for the Twins in 26.
Yeah.
In a year where a lot of people expect them to take a step back anyway. Dan.
Yeah, take a step back for sure. For the longest time, it was always, well, the Twins are good, but they're not good enough to make a playoff run, which is strange to me because player wise, like on paper, they should be competing or should have been competing in previous years, but they just haven't done so. So now, obviously, especially since last season, they again unloaded a ton of players. Um, they're clearly not one of the best. But yeah, like it's gonna be a tough year for Minnesota. Like, um, and look, it's a start of a new rebuilding process, I guess. Like, it is what it is, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, Mike pretty much said it. They sold off at the trade deadline last year, pretty much decimating this team. They went out and added pieces to fill in the holes that they needed to try to make them at least watchable. I say go get the team from Little Big League and let them play. I think they're gonna do a lot better. And they had one or two stars there. I mean, but I understand the art of rebuilding and having to go through it, as Mike and I know it very well, being Mets fans. I just don't see sacrificing your whole team to sacrifice your whole next year. Yeah, you lost your starting pitcher, which doesn't make it any easier, but you don't have to wave the white flag yet.
Here's my problem with the Twins. If you're going to sell off at the deadline, they sold off Correa and some other pieces, and you want to go through this rebuilding, whatever you want to call it, rebuilding phase. There's no reason that Byron Buxton should be on this baseball team.
Considering what they've done, I am surprised they didn't find somebody for him.
I don't know if it was him wanting to stay or that, I don't know what the deal is there. But if I was Byron Buxton, I'm looking around going, I don't want to lose 100 games. And with the roster the Twins have, and I'm not trying to be mean, these are all major league players. They are way more successful than I am. They're just not very good. This isn't Joe Mauer, Justin Morneau with Johan Santana on the mound.
Shout out, Johan.
Like
Mhm.
this is Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton, and Joe Ryan on the mound, who might get traded at the deadline this year. Who knows? Because there were winter rumors all over on this guy. I think if you're the Twins, and I get it, you need to save a couple of faces to get people into the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't love the direction, and it feels like your best trade chip this winter was either Ryan or Buxton, and they're both still there. And if they're still there after the trade deadline, we're gonna have a whole nother conversation.
Why hold on to Buxton though? Is the real
I have no
question.
idea.
Like, and look, we know he has the pop. He can hit one out. He can drive in runs. He can hit for contact. But it's just like, why?
I think the Twins asking price, because I know Ryan and Buxton were being shopped as a deal, was just way too high. It was higher than what
I think I
it would cost for Peralta, the
I
Mets
think
gave up Peralta.
yeah, I think the Red Sox was trying to get him straight up last season.
Yeah, the Red Sox were looking for Ryan straight up in a deal. I don't remember
And,
who the offer was.
yeah, I forget. It didn't work out, and thank God, because Joe Ryan would kicked our asses in the playoffs, the Yankees that is. Um, but but yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. Like with the Twins, you know, like for the longest time they built to compete and never made it anywhere near the playoffs. And now they're tearing it down with what direction, really,
Uh,
Right.
the Twins. It's a shame they just never find a way. And then when they do find a way into the playoffs, they meet the Yankees in the first round. The Yankees smoke them.
Yeah.
And then they're the Chicago White Sox. 60 and 102 last year. But Mark, we talked about before we hit the play button here. Did a lot.
Hmm.
Munetaka Murakami, he signs a 2-year deal over from Japan. They bring over Sir Anthony Dominguez, Anthony Kay, Sean Newcomb, Stone Cold Steve Austin Hayes, Met legend Luis Angel Acuna, other Met
Another Met
legend,
legend.
another Met legend Jared Kelnick, and Eric Fedde for the rotation. Look, the thing on the White Sox is this: they've lost a lot over the years, and now you may start to see something come out. I'm not going to say they're going to win 75 games, but it's possible that they lose less than 100 this year.
I definitely think that's a possibility. They had to bring in stuff to make a draw because with the trade of Robert and whatnot, you had to fill in. So they go out and get the Japanese high-touted player Murakami, the third baseman, who a lot of teams were in on in the beginning, but when they saw he couldn't hit a ball higher than 92 miles an hour,
Mhm.
everybody kind of backed off. So you got that going for you, fine. Luis Angel Acuna is gonna get a chance to play every day now
Yep.
in this lineup. Mind you, Mike and I got to see a good portion of him last season, and we know he can run and we know he can field. The bat was just never developed while with the Mets. Not saying he doesn't have a chance here to develop that bat with the White Sox, and he does. The dumbest signing I see is Kalenic. I look,
Well, it's a minor league deal.
yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
it's
but
not
even
doing
so,
much.
please. I mean, the Mets trade to get Edwin Diaz and Cano, he absolutely stinks up Seattle. He then goes to Atlanta and absolutely got chopped out of there
Yeah.
because he was that bad. And now he's with the White Sox. And no offense to Major League Ball players, this is where players go to die or just to be relevant. Again, they did stuff to bring people to the park. Fine, I get it for the business side. I hope for players like Acuna and even Dominguez get a little bit of highlight and maybe develop better. Sorry, Dan.
It's all good.
Uh,
I got nothing to say. I think here's what I will say. That Murakami deal, at least it's something.
yep.
It's something. Um, I think he can provide some good bat to the lineup.
Yeah.
And I think that's all he can probably provide because I've heard a lot about his fielding, which I don't think is the greatest, but
But you could DH him.
but you can DH him exactly.
Yeah.
So it's something, Sir Anthony Dominguez that doesn't move the needle for me much, but it's something, you know. At some point, the White Sox cannot be losing 100 plus games a year. Like at some point,
Right.
you gotta inspire your fan base, and some of these signings kind of do that. Like Acuna.
Yeah.
I feel like him being in the lineup every day, getting a chance to shine that he couldn't do in New York. I think that is a major plus. You can use him. Um, And then, of course, it just remains to be seen about this pitching staff, which
Yeah.
we all know is atrocious. Like, um, but something to at least look forward to for a team that, you know, couldn't even get a dog to walk into the fucking stadium. I mean, it was so empty last season. I kind of felt bad when the Yankees would go there and be all Yankee fans. You know,
Well,
That's what it's like at Marlins games with Mets fans.
well, at least no one shows up with a paper bag on their head like they do for the White Sox.
yeah,
But look, I think you're both nailing it because Murakami's a sign. Okay, maybe that gets you excited. By the way, you're not locked into it. It's
yeah,
2 years.
yeah,
So if he
Right.
stinks, you're not locked in for the next 6, 7 years with it.
yeah.
Acuna's going to get a chance to play every day. Mark talked about the speed, but this is how you develop. You play every day. Unfortunately, when it came to him playing for the Mets, he was blocked off by Jeff McNeil and other players.
Right.
So now he's going to get a chance to play. Klenek. I think this is an awesome opportunity for Jared Klenek. You're going to go to a place where there's no expectations. No one is going to look at you like in Seattle when you got traded for Edwin Diaz and Robinson. They can't comp you to that. Then you go to Atlanta, and we know how dynamic that offense could be, but they need you to hit. Now you're in the one place, maybe one of a couple of places where there's not a high bar. Hit me 250, 15 to 20 homers, drive in some runs. Let's see what you got, Jared Klenek. And the same deal with Austin Hayes. Here's a chance for you to showcase your skills and not be a part of a platoon.
Yeah.
That's what this White Sox team is. You have to show us what you're made of.
Yeah. And these are low end deals. Like
Yeah.
none of these, again, the Murakami deal obviously is the biggest example. But like, even the pickup of Dominguez, it's nothing crazy. It's just something to put a ball club there. Like they really could just play out of their minds all season, go crazy. They'll lose a lot of games, but they can just go out there, not have to worry so much about a championship or anything, and see what they got. You never know. You just never know what you're gonna get.
There's one word I think White Sox fans want to hear. That's compete. And I'm not talking compete for a World Series or a division title. Just be competitive within games itself. Don't lose games 18-1. Don't be the Rockies. So there you have those for the White Sox. All right, then we'll go into some of the questions about the division. And I think we kind of hit on the first one a little bit. Mark, you kind of said you think this is a farewell tour for Verlander. Dan, do you feel the same way?
Um, if he pitches well, no. If he's okay or just flat out awful, which I don't expect the latter. Um, he'll take an off season to think about it. But if he rots it, and of course, look, you're talking about Justin Verlander, at near was he 40? Like, like you're talking about
He's
Verlander at
43.
the twilight of his career. So it's like, if good for Justin Verlander at this point of his career could be a 3.3, a 3.4 ERA. Like if he posts something like that and he can go 6+, he can get you wins or keep the Tigers close. He ain't going nowhere.
He had a
but it
3.85 last year with the Giants.
exactly. So like, it depends on how he pitches. If it is time for him to hang it up, I think this is the perfect situation for him. You're in Detroit. You're closing. You know you're going to close out your career with the team that you're going to go into Hall of Fame with, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful opportunity for him, and you know Comerica is going to love the fact that he's back in a Tigers uniform.
Yes.
I just wonder if he thinks he could get to 300. He's at 266 wins now.
Oh, it's gonna be tough. I mean,
If he can win 14 games, puts him in about 280. He would still need at least another 2 years
it'd be tough.
because you're not. So that's the only caveat. But
Here's the deal. He doesn't need it.
he doesn't need it. You're right.
You
He
know,
doesn't need it. Scherzer doesn't need it. They're still going. All right. Who gains more MVP votes this year? Jose Ramirez or Bobby Witt Jr.?
That is like the most impossible question to answer. However, as the way we all talked, I think both are probably two of the best players in the AL. I'm going Bobby Witt though.
I love Witt. Like he can hit, he can run. Uh, like a lot of his style of play is going to be so dynamic for the American League. It just sucks he's on the Royals, you know, and he's not going anywhere. So, it sucks. No, I think it's gonna be Bobby Wood Jr.
I'm going to go Jose Ramirez. And then yes or no, the White Sox lose less than 100 games for the first time since 2022.
It's gonna be close, but yes, I think they will lose less than
I
100
think
games.
I agree with Dan. It's going to be close, but yes,
Okay. And then last up, who wins the AL Central?
Detroit.
Detroit.
Okay, clean sweep. All right, we're all on the Detroit bandwagon, so don't let us down, H.A. Hinch. On to the National League Central, which saw a lot of change this offseason. Last year, the Brewers won the division for the third straight year at 97 and 65, followed by the Cubs at 92 and 70, the Reds at 83 and 79, the Cardinals at 78 and 84, and the Pirates at 71 and 91. On to the offseason moves. The Brewers are bringing back Brandon Woodruff, who probably won't be able to pitch until May or June, I believe. That's what we've
Not
heard.
sure, but I don't believe he's ready for the beginning.
Yeah, I think he'll be there for the beginning. They also brought in Met prospects Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat, Kyle Harrison, David Hamilton, Angel Zerpa, Dan's friend Gary Sanchez, and Luis Rengifo. The Brewers are the one team in baseball who just let guys go. They bring in some random people, and they're still an ultra competitive team.
Yeah.
I mean, the Brewers, since David Stearns left, hasn't changed. It proves it wasn't just David Stearns. That team is solid. I wanted the Mets to make a play on Brandon Woodruff when David Stearns came over when he was going to miss that season. But, I guess, in this day and age, you're not going to wait a year. So he's back with where he is, probably is going to be your ace on your staff, and that's not a bad thing. They have a lot of good pitching, as Mike said. Brendan Sproat, who had a
Oh,
a decent show off when he came up, will do fine. Jet Williams will be fine, but The signing I actually like is Gary Sanchez. I know we've seen what Gary Sanchez can do in New York, and then when he's been out and whatnot, he hasn't been. I think this is the right place for him. I think he'll see time as DH. He might catch a few games here and there. I think this will be a much revived year for him. So, I mean, the question will be is how do the Brewers bounce back with no true ace? No offense to Woodruff.
The Brewers surprise me every year. Like
Mhm.
I've never seen a team have so much overhaul year after year after year, and yet they still win the division. Like how does it happen? Um, people talk about David Stearns. I think they have a good scouting department. Like I just think they have good people in the front office that are good at talent evaluation for obviously their budget because they don't have big budgets like the Mets do and like the Yankees and the Dodgers, all those teams. Like so they have to basically work out their ass, excuse my language, to find and throw up a team. They're on the same level of the Tampa Bay Rays, probably better than Tampa Bay Rays. So yeah, it stuns me how every year there's so much overhaul. Yeah, it doesn't even matter to them. Um, I love the manager, great guy, great baseball guy. Um, but can we give a shout out once again? You're bringing back Woodruff, good. Give a shout out to him,
Yeah.
stud.
Uh, but
Um,
oh, sorry
yeah,
for cutting
Him
you.
and Burns were a formidable 1-2 for many years.
exactly,
Yeah.
stud. So
Yeah.
shout out to him, Mike.
And speaking of the manager, Pat Murphy just got a contract extension, so congratulations to him, well deserved.
Yeah.
Dan, I think you hit it when you said that they're like the Rays, but when the Rays were managed by Joe Matt, to me, because they do everything right. They defend really well. They don't hit for a lot of power, but they hit gap to gap, and they can run. Everybody can run. And by the way, how about Christian Yelich last year? If you could keep him healthy, he is still such an impactful player for them.
You know what sucks about Yelich? The fact that he's had all these years. We're talking about maybe a 7, 8 year stretch where we hear nothing, and then he comes alive slightly better in 2025. Like it's a shame because they invested so much into him too. Like you would think, you would get the what the Marlins saw early in his career, or what the Brewers saw when they tried to make the big time World Series runs. 2017, 18, 19, so yeah.
Yeah. And we know the Brewers. They get a lead going into the back into the game. That bullpen can dominate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's brewing in Milwaukee. We'll get into predictions in a minute. Uh, the Cardinals. And Dan, I feel for your brother because he's going to
Yeah.
cover a team that I don't think will be any good.
He was at spring training.
Hmm.
He was in West Palm covering them.
Well,
Uh,
I can't. Well, I can't get mad at him because it's so nice down there now.
yeah.
Probably.
The Cardinals stink.
But the Cardinals this offseason added Dustin May, Ramon Urias, Brandon Clark, Richard Fitz, Hunter Dobbins, and Mark, our guy Ryan Static.
Nah, that's not his last name. It's Ryan Stank. That's how it has to be because now it fits in with Dan's thing. So now they truly stink because they actually got an adjective. They actually got a word that
Uh,
follows it.
and should
Look,
be
the
noted,
Cardinal,
Oliver Marmol just got an extension too this
Yeah.
morning.
the Cardinals are going to be just not the Cardinals. They're not flying anywhere. They're going to be grounded.
Yeah.
Nolan Arenado is now baking under the Arizona sun, and whatnot. Dustin May is at least a name to
I was
add.
literally about to say that. Like,
I mean, that was the name. I mean, if you looked at what Ryan Stanek did for the Mets, this is basically just to really sum it up. We stink. There it is. Sorry, St. Louis fans. Sorry, Dan's
there,
bro.
there's nothing to say. Like, they're not a good team. No, again, to talk about the another definition of blowing things up, well, there you go. Um, don't expect much out of St. Louis this year. It's gonna be a long, long, long summer. For let's call it like they're a great baseball city. Like
Yeah,
they
Oh,
deserve
yeah, I
a
agree
winning
with you that.
product.
but
Like that's the frustrating part if you're a Cardinals fan. The fact that you have a great fan base that loves, they breathe in a whole lot of baseball and a team that's going to be lackluster to show for it.
yeah, but I think also at the same time you're going to appreciate seeing what some of these young prospects have, whether it's JJ Weatherholt, Mason Wynn. Um, you know, every team goes through a retool or a rebuild, and the Cardinals have been a relevant franchise, even though they haven't made the playoffs the past couple of years. But when you add Nolan Arenado and Wilson Contreras and Paul Goldschmidt, you're going for it. You're not sitting on your hands doing nothing. You're in there going for it. You just failed at going for it. Now it's okay. Goldschmidt's gone. Arenado's gone. Contreras is gone. Our big money guys are off the books. Let's see what some of our prospects have, and then we can reevaluate at the deadline or in the offseason and see where we need to go. Because you're right, Dan. That is, I'll say it in my opinion, I think this is the best fan base in all baseball, St. Louis. They always come out to support their team. Always a sellout in St. Louis. Also, I love the shot of when they get the arch in, also.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it is a beautiful ballpark, by the way.
oh,
I've
Yes.
passed by it so many times. I
oh,
want to go inside of it.
I have
You know,
not been inside, but I've seen the outside of the park. It's
yeah,
gorgeous.
it's amazing.
yeah, I would love go to Bush one day. On to their biggest rival, the Chicago Cubs. They had a great offseason, bringing in Alex Bregman, Edward Cabrera, bringing back Shota Imanaga, who took the qualifying offer, Matt Harvey's brother, Hunter Harvey, Caleb
Mm.
Thielbar, Phil Maytone, Shelby Miller, Hobie Milner, and Mark, most recently on a minor league deal, MC Hammer, Michael Conforto.
Yeah. Shout out for that. The Cubs. They have clearly proven they want to win it
Yeah.
by what they did in this offseason. They stole my third baseman. I wanted Bregman on the Mets. I knew it was a very, very thin possibility, but I wanted Bregman. Cabrera is probably the biggest I don't know as he was traded for from Miami. Got a lot of pitches. We'll see what he can do in a new setting. Shota, I was even surprised he opted out, so to speak, even though he stayed. And then you don't have to go over all the names. They're all quality caliber players to make this Cubs team a lot better. And then, yes, I also am very happy they gave good old Michael Conforto a shot. Um, the Cubs, it's their division to lose this year right now. And that's a lot to say going up against a Brewers team that is just as good. But I think the Cubs have a little bit more hunger than what the Brewers have. And the Cubs want to prove something, and they did so by spending. I watch out for this Cubs team this year. It's gonna be lethal. Dan?
You lose a Tucker to LAD, and you come back with a Bregman. That's a massive signing. I love that. I love how, look, it wasn't much of a pivot, but yet they still putting up a very competitive product. And let's root for the Cubbies this year. Like they're a stellar team. They're gonna definitely compete with Milwaukee for the central title. And like unlike the other team across town, at least you know what you're getting out of the Cubs, despite their losses. You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a team that's gonna hit for contact, hit for power too. You have a whole lot better pitching rotation for sure, and you're gonna you're not gonna nail it. You're going to do everything you can to compete for a title. You know, I do have a lot of concerns about the manager, though. That's my only
Hmm.
big thing. I feel like, look, it's no disrespect to Craigie, no disrespect to him, but I feel like since he made the transition to Chicago, I feel like he has not done enough for this Cubs team. I don't think he's gotten the best out of this club. Call me crazy, but that's the reality.
No, when you land him, the expectation changes to win. And I think they've done so much this winter. You're right. Tucker to Bregman's not a pivot. It's to me, I actually think Bregman fits better with what you want to do because the past couple of years Kyle Tucker's been hurt. But also Kyle Tucker is going to make a lot more money than Alex Bregman. Just a fact. But I think the most underrated thing they did, yeah, Imanaga took the qualifier, but bringing in Edward Cabrera from the Marlins, and you can go Imanaga, Cabrera, and eventually at some point this year they're going to get Justin Steele back,
Yes.
and you follow that up with Jamison Tyone. That rotation for the Chicago Cubs can be very, very good. Oh, by the way, Cade Horton, who was up near the top of Rookie of the Year voting, he's going to be there too, probably.
All right. Also, you can't forget about Matt Shaw in the year he had last year. So, I mean, this Cubs team is lethal.
But by the way, the second best Swanson, Dansby's out there behind Joe Swanson. I mean, the Cubs are PCA had a great first half, slowed down in the second half, but guess what? He's still learning.
Are you still bothered by that Javi Baez trade?
Yes.
Yeah. Unless Luis Robert does what I think Luis Robert can do, it is going to bother me.
Yeah. You could
But
have
you know what?
PCA in your lineup.
But you know what?
Yeah.
The Cubs, that is the Cubs' revenge for 2015. I'll give them that. Where the Mets just swept them away. All right, so that's the Cubs. The Pirates, they made some moves too this offseason. Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn, Marcelo Zuna, Jose Urquidy, Gregory Soto, and Jake Magnum.
You know, the Pittsburgh Pirates are still not doing enough. You have Paul Skeens. I'm just putting that out there for a second. You have the most dominant pitcher in baseball, and you are not doing anything to try to put this team in a vaulted position to go further on down the field into the playoffs. It can't work like this. Yeah, Gregory Soto is a good ad for the bullpen and whatnot. But when you look at this Pittsburgh team, outside of the pitching assault, which is really good with Keller, Chandler, and we'll see what Ashcraft and Urquidy can do this year. But Henry Davis, Spencer Horace, Nick Gonzalez, and Ryan O'Hearn are not the names you need on the team. Yeah, Henry Davis, a good catcher. You got Brian Reynolds in the outfield, and of course you got O'Neill Cruz. But as Mike likes to say, and I'm going to steal it from him, can the real O'Neill Cruz please stand up? What we saw in your first season, can you please replicate? I'm sorry, Pittsburgh has the possibility of being a surprise team this year, but only if this offense can show up. They have the pitching staff to carry them through the season. The bullpen, a little iffy, but the starters are great. Dan?
You gotta start looking at the pipeline for your if you're Pittsburgh. That's just me. If you're not gonna go out there pay for players, looking into your pipeline. That's that's all I have to say for that. They have this shortstop Griffin. He's number one
Yeah,
apparently in the
they're talking
100.
about an extension from before the season starts.
So it's like that's something to look forward to. You're the Pirates because I don't trust them to actually compete in any way. Um, you talk about O'Neill Cruz. Like, is he ever gonna like actually do a big time, like turn it up big time for this Pittsburgh Pirates team? Like, or is he gonna be middle of the pack? Because that's how I view him. I don't view him as a threat to anything whatsoever.
Yeah, they need the young guys to step up. Look, I hate the Marcelo Ozuna signing. One, it takes at bats away from a young player. But two, I just don't care for Marcelo Ozuna, especially after what took place in Atlanta with him and his significant other. Um, Ryan O'Hearn, okay, again, doesn't move the needle. Brian Reynolds, they need a big bounce back year from. O'Neill Cruz, Mark, you're right. We need the real one to step up, stand up. Yeah, he's electric. Okay. So is a Tesla.
Goes the slide.
So is the slide. So is Ellie De La Cruz. Get into the Reds in a few minutes. But he would be so much looked at so much differently if he didn't strike out so much. That's the thing he's got to cut down. And because when he's on the bases, he's electric. Boogie, woogie, oogie. But the Pirates are that team. Look, they played really well at the end of last year. After the manager changed, they played really well. That being said, I'm not going to believe into the Pirates until the Pirates show me something. I'm with these guys. And then with the Reds, they brought back Eugenio Suarez, brought in JJ Bleday, Emilio Pagan, Braves legend Pierce Johnson, Brock Burke, Dane Myers from the Marlins, and Nathaniel Lowe on a minor league deal. Dan, we saw what the Reds could be last year, and they are another one with a really good young core.
Yep. The Reds did a tremendous job down the stretch to get the wins that they needed to make the playoffs. I thought the playoffs were a whole nothing but a pile of luck that came on to their hands because let's be real, the Reds did not deserve to go to the playoffs. But they did a good job down the stretch to get the wins needed to make the playoffs. I thought the team was not ready. They got heavily exposed, but now is their chance to grow from that playoff berth and develop into something. They got obviously, the young talent. Ellie is unbelievable. He's going to be leading the charts there. So you take the younger guys that have already done well. They're going to be a year older, a year wiser, and they're going to understand how baseball works in terms of competing for a world championship. And then you take some of the signs that they have from this past offseason. Bringing back Suarez, I don't care what anyone says. That would get me fired up if I'm a Reds fan. You're bringing him back to the fold. He knows what Cincinnati's like. This is now a Cincinnati team that can actually compete somewhat in the National League. I'd be fired up for Gino Suarez, Mark, if you are the Cincinnati Reds and their fan base.
Having him come back is going to be a boost. I absolutely agree with the both of you. Um, Suarez has been doing the unthinkable, especially at his age. And I hope he continues it on. Dan touched right on the right guy. Ellie De La Cruz is the name for the Cincinnati Reds. He is going to do it all from hits to home runs to stolen bases. And it's the stolen bases that I like to see. To me, I love that part of baseball.
So so like
He's one
a
of the
so like
few.
a little Maury Wills.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the only two who stole home last season. I mean, it's not done anymore. But if you have legs like this guy, it's possible. Um, I like the addition of Cabrian Hayes. Mind you, when he first came up with the Pirates, it was all about his arm. It really wasn't about his bat in the beginning. Guy's got a great defensive glove, so I hope that will help. But I hope the bat that he showcased at one point does come along. Spencer Steer is going to be fine. Nobeli Marte and TJ Friedel are going to be fine. My problem, Mike, is the bullpen. It's not horrible, but it's not division winning.
Yeah, if there's one hole, it's probably the bullpen. They do bring back Emilio Pagan, he was their closer. Pierce Johnson, I think, is a solid ad. He comes from the Braves. I think you're right. I think they're missing that eighth inning guy. That guy in the eighth inning who could come in and slam the door. We'll see if they're in it, they can add one at the deadline. But the one thing we talked about, what we love, if this rotation could stay healthy, led by Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, the Reds could be really, really good if they could stay healthy. And Hunter Green, Mark, I remember that start he made in Cincinnati against the Mets last year. And I go, you know what? This dude is gonna enter Cy Young talk in the next year if he could stay healthy. They got
Hunter Green's got that power. He's
yeah.
got the 100 mile an hour, 102 mile an hour
Oh,
fastball. He's got that slider that breaks and disappears like a ball of melted ice cream. Um, but
that
that's
slider reminds me of Randy Johnson so
yes.
much.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. But Hunter Green, no offense, this is the year for him to really prove himself to be a ace from now and through the future. The team is there. The question is, can he lead it?
Let's see what happens. All right. On to questions on the division. All right. I'm going to actually combine 1 and 3.
Okay.
What new player, so free agent signing or trade, will be the most important to their team's success in 2026?
I think for me, it's the Cubs and Alex Bregman.
Yes.
Um, I think Dan really made it clear when he said, you let Kyle Tucker go, but you don't pivot, you get Bregman. There's not much change. Yes, Kyle Tucker is younger and played the outfield. But Bregman had a fantastic season last year. So I think Dan nailed this one earlier before it was said.
Yeah.
Asked.
The Cubs have a lot of players on their team, but yeah, but Bregman for sure will definitely be massive impact on that team. And again, like they're not totally running it back, but they're definitely certainly not pivoting for sure. I think Gino Suarez for the Reds
Mm-hmm.
will be most important to their success because now that he has the experience of being in a playoff spot, he can bring that mindset to this young Reds team, something that they desperately need. Oh,
Also,
and he can also hit home runs. That thing too.
he's also been reported to be a great clubhouse guy, which is good for a team with a lot of young players.
And he's probably going to DH because they do have Key Brian Hayes to play third.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're going to even keep him healthier.
Mm.
Um, for me, I'm going to go different direction. But Mark, I'm with you with the Cubs. I'm going to go Edward Cabrera for this reason. If you could slot him in with Imanaga and eventually Justin Steele, that top 3 can really compete here in the National League Central. All right.
I
Another
mean, getting
question.
Justin Steele, sorry, getting Justin Steele back will definitely be a movement on the stick for Chicago.
You know what their favorite Superman movie was? Man of Steel.
Okay, Mike, that I'll give you that one. Nice
All
set.
right.
Ouch.
All right. Who wins the National League Central in 2026?
Cubs.
Chicago.
All right. Do the Brewers make it as a wild card?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
And God forbid something drastic happens and they don't. I'm sorry it did, but I cannot see the Brewers not being that competitive.
You know what? It's gonna take a team like the Braves to get out of their injury bug.
Oh man, and
That
that
keeps
is already
spreading.
struck.
That keeps spreading to it is wild. We give the Braves a lot of credit for keeping their team together, making sure they don't go anywhere. Yet they, for whatever reason, are the most injury riddled ball club in
They're
baseball.
they're the
It's wild.
49ers of baseball.
It's wild how this team can never stay healthy. If the Braves stay healthy and everyone plays well, I think the Brewers are out. But I
Uh,
don't think I think they'll make it close. I
if the
think they'll,
Braves stay healthy and everyone plays well, the Braves can win the World Series.
you know,
That's how good the Braves can be.
like, but you can't trust them,
You
Mike.
can't. You can't. All right. That'll do for the Central Preview edition of the Batter Up podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Mill. Mark, anything on the Dugout?
The dugout had a nice week on the Bay. We said goodbye to Donald Duck. It was nice to have him for a little while, but we did just get in an amazing card. White Prism, Calvin
Oh.
Megatron Johnson at a 35 on its way to
Hey.
PSA. Yes, I had to throw a little football news in there.
No, that's fine. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Live version up on the SA and YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Dan and Bill will be live tomorrow. SIP.
Yeah, I'll be from Pennsylvania, but
Dan will be in. Dan will be in Pennsylvania.
yeah.
He's going Dutch.
Say hello to the Amish.
Hey.
I'll be doing a live breakaway at some point this week, previewing the trade deadline as well. So look out for that. Go to the website, thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for great blogs, vlogs, plays, trades, and automobiles. Follow the socials. Facebook, the Sports Insanity Network. Twitter, S Insanity Real. And again, if you're on the YouTube page, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Next week, National League and American League East previews.
We'll
It
definitely
will be a very bloody battle.
Yes. We'll
Oh,
definitely dive into the Braves. I'll tell you that much.
we'll dive into the Braves.
Yes.
We'll dive into the Baltimore Orioles.
The Toronto Blue Jays.
Potentially the New York teams that we don't know very well.
The Nationals team that I have no clue about. Like,
Dan's got
Dan's
his
repping the pride. He's
attitude
repping
going.
the home pride.
God damn.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.